Awesome. Great. Okay, Lori, take it away. I'll stop
Good
sharing.
morning, everybody. My name is Lori Kelman. I'm one of two full-time faculty at Montgomery College in Germantown, Maryland. The other full-time faculty member is Dr. Collins Jones, and he is also on this call. I'm going to take you through telling you a little bit about our program, and then we are quite literally going to take you on a tour. I'm in the building, and so I'll be walking around using my laptop as a camera. But we have a biotech program at Montgomery College, and so starting at the beginning, biotechnology is using a cell or a product from a cell to solve a problem or make a product. What's shown on here are several of our local biotech products, and there are more products I'm not showing you. For example, some of the COVID-19 tests, both the DNA tests and the antibody tests. And we really hope that in the not too distant future, one of our local companies will announce that they have a vaccine that's safe and effective for COVID-19. In order for you to determine if studying biotech at Montgomery College is the right choice for you, we ask you 4 questions. So question number 1 is, do you like science? The second question is, are you planning to earn a 4-year degree? Third question, would you like a job when you finish your degree? And would you like to have your college education paid for, including, if you want, a master's degree? If you've answered yes to one or all of these questions, then we suggest you find out more about MC Biotech. We've been focused on 2 things. One is educating students so that they can earn a 2-year degree at MC and a 4-year degree somewhere else. And the second thing we do is focus on meeting workforce needs. Biotech is more popular than ever right now. But even prior to the pandemic, in the past couple of years, we found that more students were getting full-time jobs or internships than were earning degrees. And what that tells us is that demand is outstripping supply, and we need more students because the workforce is looking to hire more people. Prior to the pandemic, we had an estimate of between 100 and 300 new entry-level lab job openings per year in the companies that our graduates went to. And that's more than we're turning out graduates. So again, demand outstrips supply. This is an old estimate because the pandemic has changed everything. The new estimates is there will be even more jobs, particularly biomanufacturing vaccines, which if you've been watching the news, you probably know that there is hopefully going to be a lot of that happening very soon. Some of it will be happening in Montgomery County, Maryland. The jobs that our graduates get with a 2-year degree are typically around $50,000 per year in salary, and they also include benefits. So healthcare, retirement, other benefits. One of the ones that we like to point out is there would be tuition remission or tuition assistance. And this would mean that as you were a full-time employee taking more college classes or graduate classes, your company would pay in full or in part for your tuition. So if you're concerned about college loans, then, and if you like biotech, you might consider getting a job, earning a degree in biotech from MC and getting a job. Shown on the slide are some of the companies that our graduates work at. This is the building that I'm in right now, and I have to say it really is this pretty from the outside. We have classroom space, we have laboratory space, we also have conference space in the building. Now, the building is closed right now, but we do hope we'll eventually get back to classwork. Our courses are delivered remotely at this point in time, and we we're pretty sure that the labs will come back before the lecture part of the courses. So we're looking to provide people to work in the local workforce. And we talk about the DMV as an area, and there are hundreds of small biotech companies and dozens of large biotech companies in the area. And in Maryland, they're clustered in the Baltimore area. Some of them are near the BWI airport. There are also a number of companies sort of near the, we think of the FDA as part of this is, sorry, I said that wrong, NIH in Bethesda. So we've got a lot of companies in Maryland. There are not a lot of companies in the DC, and there are some in Northern Virginia. So you might have to commute, but there's a lot of companies around here. MC Biotech is the largest biotech program in the state of Maryland, and it's the largest program in the area. And I'm a little biased, but I will tell you it's also the best program in the area. So our curriculum does two things. It's industry relevant. What we teach is informed by the industry. Ooh, is there a question or comment?
Scholars, if you can mute yourselves. Kayla, Duval, thank you.
Sorry. So what we teach is informed by the industry. So we find out the sorts of knowledge and skills that's relevant, and that's what we teach. We stress hands-on experience, and so really the highlight of learning at MC is participating in our labs. What we're doing this semester is students are about to come to campus extremely briefly because we're going to loan them some equipment. So we're continuing our hands-on tradition even though people can't come into our facility right now. We also have an emphasis on documentation, and this is part of the regulatory aspect of the biotech industry. What I like to say is that what we teach in biotechnology is not biology and it's not chemistry. And it's not that we have any problem with biology or chemistry. We love both those disciplines and our students take both of those disciplines, but you will learn different things in biotech. And some of it will be the regulatory environment in which the biotech industry operates. And to that end, we use what are called SOPs or batch records. And if you've never heard of those things, this is some of what you will need to know in order to be a successful candidate for a job in the industry. We also stress workplace behaviors. So our students not only learn how to work independently, but we stress teamwork because that's what the industry wants. We want to be sure that, for example, their time management is assessed, that they exhibit the right sorts of behaviors that employers are looking for. And to meet student need, we offer classes both during the day and in the evening. Montgomery College has more than 300 scholarships available for students, some of which are specific for biotech students, and many of which would apply to a lot of different majors. And we also have what we call job placement assistance, but you'll notice the asterisk next to it. So here's our disclaimer. No one is guaranteed a job, and we're not a job placement facility. What we do is we get to know our students. So we can assess your skills, and by getting to know you, we can give a very detailed recommendation. And that's what I usually call the secret sauce. Dr. Jones has spent more than, well, almost 2 decades building trust with the local companies. And so when we say somebody's ready for a job, they know that we mean that. And we've had a lot of success with that. A number of years ago, Human Genome Sciences CEO specifically called us out. They said they've got a really good biotech program. Our graduates turn out to be terrific employees. And HGS called Montgomery College Biotechnology an arm of their human resource department. And that's not actually true. But what they saw is that our students were better prepared for the jobs. They saw lower turnover. So once our students started, they didn't quit right away because they knew what they were getting into. And many of them have stuck with the company even through mergers and acquisitions. A few years ago, a student.
Go back a slide.
Oh, go back a slide. Go ahead.
Oh, no, never mind.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Oh, wait. I did want to say this. This is Colin speaking. That when Human Genome Sciences was Human Genome Sciences, they hired over 100 biotechnology students. Since then, they've been bought by GlaxoSmithKline, and they are now desperate for workers. And GlaxoSmithKline is also offering an apprenticeship program where they will pay you a salary. It's slightly reduced from the $50,000 a year, but they will pay for your entire tuition. So there are lots of opportunities out there for both employment and for further education. And this is just one of the companies we partner with. Okay, thanks, Lori.
Thank you for saying that. A few years ago, we had a student, our students stay in touch with us, which is marvelous. But one of the things she said was that her manager in cell therapy at Lonza, which is another local company, said he's very impressed with the way that she and another MC Biotech graduate worked. Reading along here, MC prepared the students really well, and the preparation made their training process easier. And then they specifically asked for more people from the biotech program. And we see this again and again. Once companies have seen what our students can do, then if they didn't know about us before, they come looking for us in the future. And Lonza had known about us, but I'm guessing that particular person didn't actually know about us. So we've sent people to work. And then just a few of the things that these people learned, and they said, so working in a biological safety cabinet, which is a cell culture hood, knowing how to use the incubators, knowing how to count cells, accurate and precise micropipetting, aseptic technique for cell culture, etc. And students continue to tell us this. This just came in the last few weeks. One of our students started recently at a company that makes DNA plasmid production. And so this person is using wave bioreactors, making gigaprep amounts of DNA, performing PCR, working in a biological safety cabinet, doing things like agarose electrophoresis. And as she says, everything I relearned, this person had worked in the industry a little while ago, came back for updating skills. Everything she learned while at MC. And she said the biotech program is just what we always say, it prepares students for the workforce. And highlighted in green, a lot of the equipment that she used in our labs, it's the same equipment she uses at work. When you see the labs, I hope you'll be impressed with our $4 million worth of equipment. And she spoke to some people who came out of a different biotech program from a four-year university, and down at the bottom in blue, they say they didn't have half the stuff that we have available at MC. So we like to think we do a good job. So here's the options. We offer a 2-year degree in biotechnology, and that enables students to transfer to a 4-year program. It also gives them enough skill and knowledge to work in the local industry. And some of our transfer options are UMGC. There's the University of Maryland, Baltimore County Translational Life Science Technologies program that's offered in Rockville, Maryland. And there's also a GWU Medical Lab Tech program that you can transfer to. Some students choose to transfer to places like Stevenson University or Hood College, but you will have options for transfer. We also offer 2 certificates. We have one in biotechnology, one in biomanufacturing. The students who earn the degree also earn the biotech certificate. if you take one more course, which could be an elective in the degree, you would earn the biomanufacturing certificate. But approximately half our students already have a 4-year degree, and actually a decent number of them have a master's already. They often come to us not for biology and chemistry, they've already got a degree in that. They come to us for the biotech courses and they earn certificates. So you'll see we have a lot of diversity of students in terms of every way you define that term, including educational background. So here's the biotech courses. We offer 6 different courses, and I'm going to briefly go through them. So the one I don't go through is the Introduction to Biotechnology. That course does not have a laboratory, but we introduce you to the regulatory environment. We talk a little about the laboratory math, and we do an overview of the industry, focusing in on the local companies and also what we call how to apply for and keep a job in the industry. Our lab courses include cell culture, and so we're going to teach you lab safety, biosafety level 1, biosafety level 2, principles of quality systems such as 5S, how to prevent and detect contamination, how to perform cell line authentication. And as you'll see, there's a number of skills we stress as well, including gowning for aseptic technique, and this is not the same term if you're taking microbiology. So this is aseptic, performed usually in a clean room environment using what are called BSCs. We teach how to feed cells, grow cells, count cells, and so we do that. And for cell counting, for example, students learn manual and automated counting, and also cell banking. So everything you would need to know to begin to grow mammalian cells in culture. We divide molecular biology up by method. And so our protein skills are in a course called Protein Biotechnology. And I do see Colin said to me that some of my pictures were too large, and now I see they're over part of the slide. Sorry about that. Some of the knowledge and skills we cover is talking about proteins, protein structure, post-translational modification, enzymes and enzymology. The thing that you can't read there says protein purification. Some of the skills would include, well, lab safety, traceability, which is an industry term, good documentation practices. And in here, you would learn some basic lab skills like how to prepare solutions and buffers, how to perform micropipette validation, how to perform protein quantitation, such as Bradford assays with standard curves, spectrophotometry, protein gel electrophoresis, centrifugation, things like that. Biotech 230 is an immunology course. I call it Proteins Part 2, when the protein is an antibody. And so this course focuses on antibodies, how the immune system produces them, how you could raise an antibody, structure, purification, and also the methods that utilize antibodies such as Western blotting and ELISAs. And again, with specific skills that go along with that, for example, multi-channel pipetting, using plate readers, using imaging systems, using electroblotters to do those Western blots. Nucleic acid methods goes over DNA and RNA methods, and so that would include standard molecular biology techniques like plasmid preparation, isolating genomic DNA, isolating RNA, performing electroporation and transformation of E. coli, PCR, and because it's become a more necessary skill, we also do quantitative PCR. And again, we have specific equipment like fluorimeters and bioanalyzers that we use in our laboratories. The optional course for the degree is biomanufacturing, where students perform a campaign and what's called upstream processing, or growing the cells that are expressing the protein that you that would be, for example, a candidate drug product. To do that, we do scaled up cell culture using bioreactors. And then once the cells are grown, performing downstream processing, which is purifying the product. And that would include filtration and tangential flow filtration, using FPLC, which are machines that can help you purify proteins, and all the quality control that would go into upstream and downstream. We also offer non-credit courses that I'm not going to talk very much about, but the BioTrain courses often are also offered to our credit students, and these are grant funded at this point in time, so they're not charging tuition for them. And they would include, these are usually very short, 2 or 3 hours, topics such as business communication and a whole series in building essential skills. The BioTrack courses are advanced, and people who take these usually have a lot of experience. Those would include things like flow cytometry and RNA-seq. So to apply for admission to the college, the application process is online. You can do it at our website. They will need an official high school transcript sent. If you have scores, SAT or ACT, you can submit those for placement, or we have other forms of assessment for math and English placement. I recommend that everyone applies for financial aid, and if we also have disability support services, should that apply to you. What we recommend is that a high school student take 4 years of English, 4 years of math, and 4 years of science. We recommend physics. You should take chemistry and biology. And AP courses are recommended, but they're not required for admission. And with that, I think I'm supposed to start moving. If there's a question or two while I'm moving to the first lab, Collins can probably answer it.
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out how to stop sharing my screen.
Otherwise, it will look like we're on a boat in the middle of the ocean.
Right.
So this is Collins speaking. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I want to emphasize a couple of things that Lori mentioned. One is the idea that we can help you get a job. We have put over 300 students to work full-time since we've been at the college. It is easier for us to get a student a full-time job than it is to get a student an internship. Internships at biotech companies tend to be cost centers. So they'd much rather just hire you, pay you, and put you to work and keep you. So again, the companies pay tuition for you. So I think that's a really nice advantage. You can check the field out and see if it's there or not. The other thing I think is important to think about, biotechnology is a career, right? You're not just going to go into this company and work at the lab. I have students that I've placed at companies 15 years ago. They're not in the lab anymore. They're working in business development. They're doing human resources. They're in regulatory affairs. So you don't have to spend your whole life in the lab, and the companies will actually pay for you to get education to prepare you for another aspect, another career within the company. The other thing I want to point out is what makes us really different in our labs, and no offense to the biology and chemistry disciplines, but in our labs, we are actually trying to teach you things that you would use out in the real world, whether you were at NIH in an internship or GlaxoSmithKline manufacturing a vaccine. And then we gear our lectures to teach you the science behind what you're doing in the lab. And it's essentially the same science that you would learn in your biology, chemistry, biochemistry class, except it comes from an applied point of view. And I see Dr. Kelman's head popping in there. Whereas in your chemistry and biology classes, the labs they're teaching you are generally to illustrate a theoretical thing that you learned in the lecture. And we've just sort of flipped that around to get you ready to go to work. So we are very hands-on, and Lori is in, that looks like
I'm in nucleic acids.
As I say, it looks like the nucleic acids lab. I see lots of PCR units there.
Yeah. Yeah, our labs are shut down, and so I'm sorry, there's a very noisy refrigerator that we've pulled away from the wall. It works fine, but it's easier access to the back of equipment, so you're going to see some messy stuff today. The maximum for our laboratories is 16 students, and what I'll point out in here is that we tend to have multiples of equipment. I'm going to move the camera for a minute. We perform agarose gel electrophoresis. We've got enough for each student to do it. We have gel imagers. We don't have 16 of them. They cost $25,000 each, but we do have 2 of them in the room. And while we have multiples of the regular PCR thermocyclers, so I've got 4 of them out, but I think we have 8 of them. We don't have multiples of qPCR. We only have 2 of those. These, of course, are the much more expensive machines. But what we've gotten here, and again, this is just really how we left it in March. We haven't been in here much since then. Trying to think. I don't have too much more to say about this particular room. So Collins, if you want to say a few things, I'm going to run down to proteins then.
Yeah. First, I want to say thank you, United States taxpayers, Maryland taxpayers, and Montgomery County taxpayers, because a lot of this equipment was purchased with taxpayer funds, along with donations from private companies. But what I want to emphasize that Lori mentioned is that there is enough equipment for every pair of students to do hands-on. So when you come into our labs, you're not going to watch us demonstrate something the whole lab period. We're going to demo how to use a piece of equipment, and then you're on it and you're doing it, right? And what we're interested in is that you learn. So I used to teach chemistry, and I hated it when they would make you do the titration 800 times until you got exactly the right answer. Because by about the 5th time you're doing something, you're probably not learning anymore. It's just a skill. You're just improving your skills. So we want you to feel comfortable, and we do not grade you on your results in the lab. If something goes wrong, it becomes a teachable moment, and we do what's called a root cause analysis. And as a class, we try to figure out where the errors went and what you would do to prevent that from happening in the future. But again, amazingly, somehow our administrators and the biotech industry ensured that all of our labs are unbelievably well equipped, so that, what I like to say in slang terms is everybody plays. You come in and there's a piece of equipment for you to use. Now, the really expensive stuff, we can only buy 2s or 3s of those. So those quantitative, the qPCR instruments, those are about $40,000 a piece. So we only have 2 of those right now. But you will run your own qPCRs. All right, we talked all the time. Do you guys have any questions? Does anybody have any questions?
And also, I'm in proteins now, so I may move around a little and try to show some equipment. Collins, you can kind of narrate or, again, answer a question.
Great. But, let's just take a second. Does anybody have any questions? It doesn't have to be about the labs. It could be about biotech, careers in biotech, anything. Okay. Well, Lori is in the protein biotechnology lab, which actually, we do have a question. Has any major emergency happened in the lab? That's a great question. No, actually our biotech labs we strive for safety. So we try to use everything we try to use is environmentally friendly. And nothing, I think the worst that happened was somebody slipped when we were in the old building, and that was it. But we don't use open flames in here, and the chemicals we use are pretty safe. You would have to, I think you would have to work to injure yourself in a biotechnology lab.
I'll qualify that slightly. We do use open flames in the DNA course. However, again, it's a safety first philosophy. And I would say that our labs are probably safer than your typical high school or college lab because we take safety extremely seriously. No one works in our labs without a lab coat, safety glasses, and gloves when they're performing something.
Okay, Lori, we have another question. Do you have to study biotech to become a doctor or a nurse? And the answer to that is no. And that is probably one of the reasons that we have trouble recruiting students, is because people who are talented in the STEM fields, chemistry and biology, tend to want to be pre-med students. But this is what I want you to think about. If for some reason you don't get into med school, and usually you'll know by the time you're a sophomore, your second year of college, or your third year of college, how your GPA is going, okay? Then if you're not on the path to med school anymore, don't waste that education. You can go to biotech. And what some people do is go into the biotech industry, get a master's degree, and reapply for med school, okay? So we're asking a lot, and somebody, if Lori, that might be you with the mic. There's a lot of background noise there.
I'm muted, so it was not me.
Okay.
Just so you know, though, I'm going to move to biomanufacturing since that's the most different looking lab.
Okay. Would biotech be useful for you? My career choice is to be a clinical, can't read the rest of this. I got to pop this up. Where is it? There we go. Oh, I got to put my target glasses on to read this. My career is to be a clinical geneticist. So indirectly, biotechnology would be important because you would, if you're going to be a clinical geneticist, you would want to be able to understand how DNA is sequenced and some of the errors that can occur when you do DNA sequencing, okay? So hopefully that helped. And you can email us after this if you have additional questions. Is this school based mainly on biotechnology? The answer is no. We are a traditional school. Biotechnology is just a specialty program at Montgomery College. We offer all of the traditional chemistry, biology, math, English, history, psychology, all the normal courses that you would take at a college, but biotechnology is a specialized program there, designed to meet the workforce needs and to prepare you to transfer to another school. Did the tuition remain the same or changed? Well, we pretty much did what everybody else did. The tuition remains the same, but if you want to come to MC1, our tuition is half to 1/4 the tuition at other, especially at four-year schools, and we have lots of scholarship money. And I would encourage you, no matter where you apply to go to college, ask for scholarships. Just go for it. There are all kinds of scholarships. A lot of those scholarships go unused, so just ask. All right. Favorite, oh, I like that. Favorite memory. Nope, go ahead.
Do you want to say a word? Oh, sorry, echo. Do you want to say a word about gowning and then answer the next question?
No, you can say a word about gowning because I am not an expert on Microsoft Teams, and I'm in chat and not going back to the window.
So I'm in our gowning room. This is biomanufacturing, and it does not look like a regular high school or college lab. It looks like an industry workplace. So this looks like a locker room. This is where you would scrub up. It's also where you would put on, you're covered essentially head to toe. Once you're properly gowned, you can move into biomanufacturing, and you'll have to, sorry, the lights are out, but they'll be on in a moment. I am not properly gowned because I'm giving a tour, but this is our cell culture laboratory. Those are 2 of our 6 BSCs. These are our standing incubators and our shaking incubators. I'm going to show you an aseptic pass-through, which is a way to move things like media from an area of higher aseptic to lower or vice versa level. Trying to think what else to show you. In cell culture, we don't use these bioreactors. This is for biomanufacturing, where we can grow cells in larger quantity. In the center, right there, is a tube welder, which is a way to make a sterile weld so that nothing is ever exposed to the air. And you'll see multiples of covered microscopes. I uncovered 2 of them just so I could show you for cell counting. We do manual counting. We also do automated counting. That is a Biorad TC20 automated cell counter. Should I keep going? Because I'm going to go into...
Yep, last room.
Yeah. Last room is downstream processing or protein purification. Things are covered in here because we're shut down. Excuse me. This is one of the Acta Avants, which is a FPLC, a fast protein, a liquid chromatography system. The columns that are run on this, and I'm feeling really bad because I don't have gloves on right now. This is actually a fairly large column by research or development standards, but actually a very small column. There's no resin in here by industry standards. Industry has some columns that would not fit in this room. And
you could actually stand up in those columns.
Yeah. Anyway, I think you can move back to talking about to answering questions.
But again, the ACTA FPLCs to purify proteins, we have 4 of those. So we put in those classes, we limit the class size to 12 students so that there's 3 students per unit. Okay. Next question. I plan to be in the military. Should I go to the school before or after? My sense is that you should complete your military service because the military will give you the GI Bill and they'll pay for your tuition, right? So I think that's a good way to go. And in the military, you can sometimes get involved in things. You could go up to Aberdeen Proving Grounds or up to Fort Detrick, which used to be the Biowarfare Center. But Fort Detrick here in Maryland and Frederick does a lot of vaccine research. So if you're interested in biotech and biology, you can sort of, I think when they muster you in, you can start to indicate some preferences. And after you complete basic, you may be able to be assigned to areas that you're interested in. But the military is a great way to go. And if you go, I want to thank you in advance for your service. Is it hard to be a lab technician? No, it's easy. We're going to train you how to do that, right? Put you to work. Come to us. Seriously, it's not that difficult, right? And we start you off simple. I used to study martial arts, and so I take the martial arts approach is we teach you one thing. Once you learn that well, we build on that. We keep building. So we're not going to teach you how to be a master MMA fighter in 1 week. We're going to slowly build your skills up, add one skill to the next. All right. Can you tell us what famous person attended your school? I'm probably supposed to know that, but I really don't. The only thing I remember is the people who made the Blair Witch Project. They attended MC, and there's a couple of other famous people, but I'm not about fame, so I don't really keep track of that. Dr. Kelman will know. She's into that stuff. I want to study kids with what? Okay, I want to study kids with disabilities such as autism. So is this college good for me? Not in biotech, but it might be a good place to start to get the background for that. But then what you want to do for that is actually search the internet and look for education, just say educational programs specializing in autism, and look at those colleges and then look at the curriculum. And so I'm going to give all of you guys a little bit of career advice right now. So one of the things that no one ever told me when I was in high school or college, and that is what I'm really impressed with is lots of you seem to already have a career direction, a career path, something you want to go to. So choosing the next part of your education is really critical. So if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a genetic clinician, if you want to study autism, the first thing you want to do is look on the internet for places that specialize in that. All right. look at those schools, and then investigate those schools and ask what happens to the graduates of those schools. Do they get jobs? You know, Dr. Kelman and I are, we're excited to tell you how many of our students got jobs, how many of them are still working, how many finished their degree. So if you're going to go to a college and you have a career in mind, ask those college people what their students do when they graduate, right? Don't just let them take your money. Once you're out of high school, somebody is paying for your education, right? So you have a right to ask questions. You are in part a consumer. So, how do they prepare people? They should be willing to ask that questions. I want to study to be a biomedical engineer. Okay, so actually, in my opinion, coming to MC is a good place to start. We have a biomedical engineering program. They transfer to the engineering school at the University of Maryland. And we are increasingly, not a lot, we'd like to increase the number, but we are getting some biomedical engineers taking biotech courses. Because, for example, for something like cell culture, we're developing a cell culture 2 class. And one of the things that I want to do in that class is, before I retire, is I want us to print the ear of a mouse. So bioprinting is a really hot topic right now, where you take cells and you put them in a printer and you do a 3D printing, and you can print literally tissues and organs. So right now they're able to print bladders, heart valves. They're starting to print, United Therapeutics in Silver Spring is actually trying to print new lungs. So instead of getting a lung transplant, we just take some of your lung cells, repair them, and print you a new one. What are some challenges you went through to have to get where you are? So there's a couple of them. One is, if you can still see me, you're looking at a guy who failed math all through high school, right? I was actually a pretty good kid in high school. It wasn't until I got to college that I got a little bit wild. But in high school, I failed every math course. They gave me a D because they didn't want to have to deal with my inability to learn math. So, but I knew if I wanted to do science, I needed to learn math. So I actually lived outside of Detroit at that time, and I went to a community college at night as a high school student. And that teacher fixed my math in one semester, because where I went to college, we started with calculus. That was the lowest level math course. And because of that, the way that guy taught me, he fixed all my math, and I took 4 years of calculus and I got an A every year. So that was one challenge. The other challenge was, Laura, you don't even know this, but the other challenge was managing my finances in graduate school. So they pay you just a little bit to live on when you get your PhD. One of my roommates moved out without any notice, and I couldn't pay the rent. So I got evicted, and I lived in the back of my station wagon for about 3 months. And that's when you learn that you can go to schools and YMCAs to take showers, and you go to laundromats and stuff like that. And I worked as a janitor for 6 months to be able to clear up my debt and be able to have an apartment again. But, all of that just kind of makes you a little bit stronger, and you learn a lot about yourself, and you learn a lot about people when you do that. Okay. I wanted to be a pharmacist. Is Montgomery a good school for this career? Lori, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, so pharmacy, you will want to take pretty much as much chemistry as the college offers. At a community college, that would be general chemistry. We offer 2 semesters of general chemistry here, and organic chemistry, and we offer 2 semesters of organic here. Many of our pre-pharm students are biochem majors. So you should be taking AP chemistry and calculus in high school for that, and then moving to college and taking more math and more chemistry.
These are great questions. Thank you, guys. Other questions? Is this helping you guys? We do not have a forensic science program. Part of that is when we consider programs, which are specialty programs like biotech or forensic science, we look at the job market for that. And so if you were to call the DC police or the FBI or Montgomery County Police and ask how many forensic scientists they employ per year, you would probably get a very small number. So I don't want to discourage you, but I want you to, these are things that you need to think about as you make a career choice. So it shouldn't necessarily stop you, but you may not end up being a criminal forensic science person. You may end up working for someplace like the FDA, right? Because you use the same methodology as a forensic scientist to track down, for example, food contamination. If there's E. coli that's causing food poisoning, the FDA uses a lot of the same methodology to determine that, or maybe the USDA and places like that. And then later on, after you get experience someplace else, then you may move into the criminal forensics area. But, you know, think about how broad the program is. Homeland Security is another place that may use forensic science, but just be aware of those sort of options. Lori, do you have anything to add to
I'll
that?
add a little bit to that. I think there are some forensic programs in the state of Virginia where I believe the job market is a little better than some other states. Taking biotech is not bad preparation for forensic science. It's not. It doesn't specifically prepare you for forensic science, but you'll see a lot of parallels with the FDA regulatory environment and what we call traceability, and what the criminal justice and forensic people call chain of custody. They're extremely similar concepts. How you perform it is similar. I mean, again, extremely similar, but we use different terminology.
I'm going to let you answer that one. How much is tuition?
So tuition, we have 3 levels of tuition, and it depends on whether you live in county, in state, or out of state. Now, I have to immediately tell you that as a recent high school graduate from a DC public school, you will pay the lowest level of tuition at any community college that you apply to. You get the benefit of being in county, even though you don't physically live in county. I will leave that to people at your high school to explain in more detail, but I believe our tuition is, I want to say $110 a credit. There are also fees. The 1 year, I have to look it up. If you went to the montgomerycollege.edu webpage, right at almost near the top, it says paying for college. And if you click on that and then click on how much does it cost, look at the in-county tuition rate.
Yeah, I think it's like six or 7,000 a year tops. It's about 1/3 of a 4-year of a place like of a public 4-year school like University of Maryland. Don't forget scholarships. No matter where you go to school, apply for scholarships. Oh, Lori's looking it up. She's good at this stuff.
I'm looking it up as we speak, and so what it says here for a county resident for 12 credits, which is 12 credits is a full-time schedule. You could take more, but that's financial aid defines it. It would cost you $2,129. I'm rounding up. So $2,129 for 1 semester full-time.
So around, when you add in other expenses, around $5,000 a year. Tuition is so low because we love you. No, partly because we are subsidized by taxpayers. So we are not like some of the 4-year schools where they have to be totally supported by tuition, or most of their funding has to be supported by tuition, but we are supported by county and state tax dollars. And that really is the intent of any community college, is to provide an affordable entry-level college experience for people, which is why we recommend it's a great place to come. You know, we of course want you to come to Montgomery College, but whatever two-year college you choose to go to, some of the advantages are the class sizes are small, the tuition is cheap. We're there because we want to be there. I mean, Dr. Kelman and I are at Montgomery College because we like to teach and we like to help people get where they want to go, right? Trust me, it's not about the money. Okay. I mean, we don't get paid badly, but either one of us could make a lot more money if we went out into private industry. So tuition is low, mostly because it's subsidized by taxpayers.
And another thing is after you transfer from any community college with a 2-year degree to any 4-year college, when you earn your 4-year degree, it just says the college you went to. Nothing says that you started somewhere else. We do have a good reputation, so our students tend to report that they earned an MC biotech degree. And if you go on LinkedIn and search for that, you'll find some of them there. But I would say probably a majority of community college graduates don't really promote the fact that they earned a degree at a community college, and that's up to you as an individual. Did anyone have a question about a lab? Was that a terrible tour with cameras? I apologize for not being able to invite you here, but as you see, Dr. Jones and I aren't even allowed to be in the same room at the same time right now.
Sometimes that's a good thing. Yeah, let's see. Any other questions? How long do we have to? 12:45?
Yeah, I've got that. We have 2 minutes left, but.
Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Richardson, do you have a question for us?
Let's see. I guess what advice would you give to our current biotech students to help them successfully navigate this virtual learning space and potentially prepare to become students at Montgomery College?
I'll go first and then Collins can have the last word. So I would say 2 things. First of all, in terms of biotech, I can't think of a better time to get involved in biotech. It's on the news every day, every night, every newspaper, every headline. The importance of biotech is really on the world's mind right now. So if you like biotech, oh my gosh, get into it. It's a great time. Now, in terms of remote instruction, you know, I think everyone is doing the very best they can possibly do. Minimize distractions, because if you think about the difference between being in school and online, in school, you know you've got one thing to focus on. So if possible, find a quiet place. I have seen people on TV broadcasting from their closets, and I'm not making that up. I have a tiny little corner in my house, and actually, I'm in my office at work. This is only the 3rd time I've been here since March, but this is distractionless to me. And I would say focus, schedule your time if possible. So if it works for you to say that from whatever 9 to 2 you're in school, then schedule that. In college, I tell people to schedule their study time and still do the social things. So many of us are giving our students the opportunity to meet each other, either using breakout rooms or online discussions, or everybody has Zoom now, but we also make our classrooms available, our remote classrooms available to students when we're not in them. So take advantage of all that and still get to know people and have friendships and study groups and most of the things you would have if you could be on campus. Again, just do the best you can do. Collins?
Yeah, I agree with Lori. I think it's important to get on a schedule, set aside a particular space at your house to do your work and minimize the distractions. I can't emphasize enough, do your homework. practice, right? Practice, practice, practice. Repetition is the mother of all skills. So practice over and over again. And I also think it's really important when you, as you go through your studies and things, take notes down and write questions, and don't be afraid to ask questions. You know what? We're kind of lonely here too. We don't get to see you guys. I mean, I miss my students. I miss the face-to-face. So it's nice when you get an email with a question or something. So be sure that you ask questions. Be sure that you're understanding this. Also, don't be afraid to go onto the internet and look for additional information. So if you're not understanding something, look it up, Google it, see what other information, what other points of view that you can get. And finally, take some time to chill. You know, get outside, do something to relax, exercise. Don't make your whole life about school. Sorry, guys, but I mean, but it's true. You have to have a balanced life. You have to let your brain clear itself out, reset itself, process what you've learned. So have some things that you do for fun and be safe.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Be
I'm
safe.
just because what Colin said about repetition reminded me, I'm doing one of the homework assignments we give our cell culture students, which is to practice one-handed manipulation of flasks. Yes, I know, kind of geeky.
Wow, you did that really well. My fingers don't.
And I haven't done it since March.
My fingers don't work that well anymore. Thank you guys so much for participating in this and giving us the opportunity to talk to you. If you have any additional questions, if you didn't want to ask it in public, email away.
Yes, I put some emails into the chat, and I know that you can get them from Ms. Richardson or Ms. Barker. And thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Collins, for being here today. Thank you, Lori, for traveling up to the university to show us the laboratories. We really appreciate it.
We hope we get to see you guys in person at some point in time. This is not going to last forever. Laura's just smirking at that.
Well, I'm going to say we're hoping one of our local company hits it big with a vaccine, but even if they don't, they'll get a contract to manufacture it. We're going to be busy for the foreseeable future.
Okay. What a nice group.
Really nice.
I want these guys as students.
Yeah, they're pretty great. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. I think the students are going to hop off and wrap up lunch. And any additional questions, I'll make sure that they email you and you guys can address that. So.
Happy to. All right.
I'm going to send you the sign up for the biotech webinar series if anybody would like to attend. Those will be Mondays at 4 starting next Monday.
Perfect. That would be great. Thank you so much. We'll definitely push that.
Wow, look at all this. What a nice group of guys. That's so cool. That is really cool.
Yeah.
It brings a smile to my heart. It does. In this world with all the other crap going on, to just have a good group of people, that is awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Stuff like that gives you energy to go through the rest of the day, you know?
Definitely. Got it out.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm going to leave because I unfortunately just got some pretty sad news about one of my former mentors. So I gotta send the email out.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, we will see. Thank you guys so much, though. Totally awesome. Bye-bye. Stay safe, seriously. And for God's sake, enjoy this weather.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
As soon as my 1:30 is over, I'm going out for a little bit before the 6:30. I got to breathe in some air. And look, Len the plumber is gone. All right. That worked. He didn't saw anything.
Always the minute the meeting is over, right?
Yeah, well, he didn't saw anything, so there was no noise, so I'm happy. He was just getting ready. All right, I'm going to leave. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you again. Call on us anytime, okay? Anytime we can help, just let us know.
Yeah. Is there anything else I can do just while I'm here right now, or?
Uh, no, I mean you were great, Lori. It's that's pretty much it. And then if any other questions come in, we will send them your way. And I think you dropped your
Absolutely.
contact information in the chat, so we can direct students to you. And the seminars for Mondays, yes, please let me have that information as soon as possible, and we'll start to market it to the students. And yeah, that'll be great because they've already met you. So I think that'll increase the likelihood of them participating in those supplemental sort of support events. So
Yep, wonderful. And then Courtney Barker, are you in a laboratory? Oh wait, you're muted.
That's my elliptical.
Oh.
And then those are just some decorative lanterns.
Oh, okay. Kind of looks like a lab. Although now I noticed
it's very
teaching lab.
you've got a dog
It's-
in there, I
this is our
see.
rental property.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you again. Your time is, we really appreciate it, and the fact that you traveled up to do the the tour part. Just thank you so much.
Not a problem at all. You know, many of us are so happy to get out of the house right now. Really happy to do it. So, are you still working with the Carnegie people? Have we met before? Your name is familiar to me, and I'm not sure why.
So
Maybe just
I
from
actually
seeing
used to
emails.
teach at McKinley Tech 5 years ago in the biotech program. So that's probably what it's
right.
from.
Okay.
I went to a couple meetings when we were doing the articulation agreement with you guys. So that's probably where it's from.
That's why. Okay. Well, nice to see you again.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Hey guys, wait, this is Collins. Sorry, I came back on. I just got a nice email. Can I read this to you real quick?
yes.
Hi,
Please.
Collins. We are staying very busy. We have 80 plus vaccines and treatments on test for COVID therapies, plus our normal work. We moved operations from 5 days a week to 7 days a week to keep up with the load. We have a number of openings. I wanted to reach out to you to see if you would recommend some candidates for us. Thank you for your continued support of BioReliance. Dave Marcier, Director of Operations.
Wow.
That came in at 12:43 p.m.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
we need bodies. I mean,
Yeah.
we cannot fill the needs, and BioReliance has been with me since 2000, since the year 2000. They have at least 30 to 40% of their workforce came out of Montgomery College. So we have people in almost senior positions there now.
So Collins, Lori, and just thinking about it, what would it take? I know you spoke about it being easier for students to be hired as full-time employees than to obtain an internship. But what sort of, I guess, push or guidance, or what could we do, I guess, at the high school level to potentially have some of our students, generate some internship, maybe fulfill those positions or have those positions be created in the first place, just to sort of fill that gap, because obviously there is a gap, right? And there are students now who are in high school who could definitely, make a decision about entering into the biotech field because they experienced an internship, right? And so these openings exist.
Biotech is not going to have a lot of internships for high school students. The regulations demand that someone be 18 years of age or older. So that right there, you've got a major barrier.
It sucks. Let's just be blunt. It sucks. It's a catch-22. So the thing that our students go into, as Lori said, is regulatory. It's a regulated lab environment. So you're producing a pharmaceutical product and you're having to comply with FDA regulations. And so that means usually it's a minimum of 6 months to train a person, even after they leave the biotech program, to train them to be able to work independently in the industry. And if the internship is a semester, that's what, 4 months? Right. So they spend 3 months training you and then you bail, right? And so, and that is one piece of advice. I'm glad you asked that question because I spent 10 years at NIH before I went to Montgomery College. And so I did have some internships. So some lessons learned for your students to apply for internships at let's put it like this, They could apply potentially for internships at startup biotech companies where they're not under FDA regulations. That comes to then how well you help them prepare the resume. So the resume wants to focus on skills. Nobody cares that they took a class in genetics because we don't know what you learned in genetics. We don't know what you can do after you've taken a genetics class. Does that make sense? But if you say, I know how to make a standard curve, I know how to use a micropipette pen, I can culture bacteria, that physically tells me what you could do if you come into the lab, and you want to be prepared to describe that. So you can't just, like, I had a kid from, God, which one was it? Wooten, right? Her mom called me up and demanded that I find her an internship, right? Because she's a taxpayer. And so I'm like, okay, come on in, mom. Bring your kid in, bring the resume. So the kid had basically could have won a Nobel Prize with what she put on her resume. So I said, okay, you know how to do PCR. Describe to me how you would do a PCR experiment. How would you design a primer? What would be in the master mix? Right after the third question, the daughter started crying and the mom goes, that's not fair. And I go, that's what they expect. If you put this on the resume, that's what we expect you to know in the job. Right. So no, I'm not willing to help your daughter find an internship. But so one is you can do small companies, you can do NIH, you can do universities.
Okay.
And there is a huge push right now for equity and diversity. I'm on the National Academy of Science STEM Roundtable, whatever the heck they're calling it, to design curriculum. And there's a huge push for that. So colleges are going to be excited to increase the diversity of their interns, right? So you have George Washington, you have Georgetown, you have Howard, right? You have, University of Maryland.
And
right.
in DC, you have the headquarters for FDA, EPA. I'm imagining that they would also have internships.
Right.
They probably wouldn't be lab internships, but they would still be involved with the mission of each of those agencies.
So here's the two secrets that help. All right. One is, while you want to apply through their internship programs, at some place like NIH, 30,000 people apply for their summer internships. They accept 5,000 to 6,000. Right. So if you don't get accepted for that, you can't feel bad because the competition is crazy, right? So the way that what you got to do is you apply officially, but then you bypass the system. My rule is if somebody says no, find somebody who says yes. Always make the other person say no to you. Don't decide that you can't do it. And then just keep looking. So what your students want to do is, like, we had somebody who wanted to be a clinical geneticist, somebody else who wanted to work with autism. They're doing autism research at NIH. Find the labs that are doing autism research and send your resume directly to the people working in that lab. So, and then if they want you, then they'll go to the internship program and say, hey, I want this person as my intern. So that they're not pre-screened by the intern people, they're going to be pre-screened by the lab where they want to work. And the second thing is that helped me, which made me, I'm going to deny this if you ever take me to court, okay? But what helped me is if the person was local and I could get them as like a junior in high school, then I knew they might be coming back for the next couple of years. And then it's worth my time to train them. And one of them actually came during, after they were done with school, they came and worked for 2 or 3 hours in the lab. And so that's a huge advantage, that if I invest the time in them for a summer and I know they're going to come back the next summer or might even stay with me throughout the whole year, that's a big incentive to invest the time in them. Does that help?
Definitely. That makes a lot of sense. Yes.
So when things get better, Lori, I'm going to volunteer this ahead of time. Or if you want to have another session, we'd be happy to give you some tips on how to write a resume and interview for a job.
That sounds great.
I mean, nobody ever taught me that all the way through graduate school. So when we came into the program, we wrote how to find a job, how to write a resume, how to interview packet, and then we sent it out to like 5 different human resources people at the different biotech companies. Some of what we wrote they laughed at and said there's no way that you should, say this, and other stuff they said put this in. And so and that's how we came to know about who cares about the classwork, the skills. we had them put both in, but they're like, it doesn't matter if you took organic chemistry. Everybody takes organic chemistry. Every college teaches organic chemistry differently, so that doesn't help us.
Gotcha. Right.
And another thing is in our, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, Ms. Richardson, do you think that there would be any connection between students getting the credential from passing the base exam, the biotechnician assistant credentialing exam, and maybe getting a job after they graduate for the summer? That seems like something that they could potentially do because most of them would be 18 when they graduate, and then they would have that accredited credential through BioUtility.
That's actually a great question. Are you guys familiar with BASE at all, Collins?
Yeah, a little bit, but what I haven't heard is that any industry here cares about it. I know they have some folks in Florida signed on, but are you aware of anybody in this area who knows what it is who isn't us?
No, this is a really interesting question. Let me put it like this. It wouldn't hurt, but it depends on how much it costs. You know, if it costs a student $200 to take the base test, they're probably not going to get a return on their investment around here. And we're struggling with this because at Montgomery College, one of the 10,000 other things they're having us do besides teaching is trying to create a credentialing program, right? But we asked the local, like the guy, Dave Mercier, I asked him and he goes, why would we want to deal with that? We know you. We know that if you say hire the student, we should hire the student. And if you say don't hire the student, don't hire the student. And we're really blunt. I mean, we'll say this person should be making solutions and this person should be creating life. I mean, you know, we'll say we assess the students. We want to help people get jobs, but we want to make sure they enter at the right level for them. You know, so because some kids, they just grow into it. And, you know, that's the other thing I forgot to say is with our program, you don't need to be an A student for us to recommend you as a lab tech. You need to be good in the lab. So if you're a C student and you can make a great standard curve, I'm going to help you find a job. I don't care about your grades. I mean, it will be important when you want to continue your education, but I'm more concerned about what you can do as opposed to what your grades are, because sometimes people mature. I mean, I was a 2.8 GPA in high school, right? I mean, I kind of struggled with all the things I wanted to be good at, chemistry and math. And then somehow in college, it just came together.
And if I could be even more blunt, some of the people who want to be pre-meds are going to earn C in chemistry. They are not going to medical school. They might still be fine with biotech. Obviously, if they're failing out of everything, there's only so much we can do. But we see lots of students who are, for a variety of reasons, not getting A's in every course. And sometimes it's about what they have to do outside of school rather than their intellect or ability. But boy, if they can do what you need to do in the job situation, nobody cares what grade you got.
I think that's one thing I would really wish would happen at every level, but starting especially at high school, is have a plan A, B, and C for your career, so that if you don't get to med school, you don't throw away all the time you've invested in your education. So like, okay, you're not going to get into med school now. Go into the biotech industry, get a master's degree. If you do well in your master's, reapply for med school, or maybe you'll love biotech and that'll be your career. But yes. But I don't know about you guys. We can't tell a student you're not going to med school. We're not allowed to tell a student they're failing.
Oh, wow.
That's not completely true, but
I'm afraid. I'm very afraid of that.
When a student comes in and doesn't say, hey, what are my chances of going to medical school? When they say, I'm going to medical school and I need your help because I have to take organic for the third time because I failed it twice, that's not always the moment to have the difficult conversation.
Andrew, you're muted.
Oh, sorry, I was talking to someone else in the.
Oh, okay. No, that's sorry. But yeah, anyway, I think that's an important sort of conversation to have it, and we try to have it. I mean, I don't say you're not going to medical school, but I just say you understand that most people have a 3.8 GPA or above to get into medical school, and yours is 2.3. So something needs to change.
So when we think about our partnership with you guys and the fact that we're preparing biotechnology, high school students to partake or participate in the industry in some fashion, when we take a look at BASE, that's our, credentialing exam or certification exam for our academy. So we need to understand how well that exam is actually going to prepare students to be able to, be admitted into Montgomery, or if they don't have the ability to intern with any of these companies that you guys are associated with in high school, how else do we assess their preparedness? And so when we look at BASE, even if it's not readily recognized in this area, there could potentially be some components or aspects of BASE that still allow us as educators to expose the students right to these different skill sets, and that could in turn make them more valuable or marketable to these different
right.
Absolutely.
Knowing how to micropipette and knowing how to properly operate a balance and make a solution are core skills, and there's
Absolutely.
nothing wrong with them. Did you guys give BASE this year? Because Montgomery MCPS didn't. I thought they said that it was canceled, but it was about COVID.
Yeah, so we actually gave the diagnostic earlier this year, a few weeks ago, and we plan on having our seniors sit for the official exam at the end of the entire school year. So I believe in like May or June is when we're going to have them sit for the actual exam, because that is going to document some level of understanding of different biotech skills, and they are going to be able to use that, add that to their resumes or to help promote themselves. And so, but as far as
we'll
the
be looking to you, because we're going to be asking you how BASE is going, because we looked at it and decided to pass because it just didn't seem to have enough skills in it, but we thought it was more appropriate at the high school level.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me walk back on that. Doing BASE won't hurt. I just always I'm aware of the cost of things.
Sure.
So if it's if it's $50 or if it's free, then by all means they should take it. But if they're going to charge you $200, $400 a student, then probably no. And that's one way to get them to drive down the cost.
Gotcha.
I think for MCPS, they got Perkins funding to pay for, I believe, the fee for the test, which I want to say was $175, but I may have that wrong. If you guys are eligible for Perkins funding, you might look into it. I don't think they'll pay for it forever, but I think they would pay for the pilot program, which I think is what MCPS did.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, that's something that we can do. Definitely.
Yeah. So, I apologize. I didn't have a better answer for the internships, but we get asked that all the time. I think as this partnership proceeds, what we're going to really rely on is the same thing the biotech companies rely on Montgomery College for, which is your personal recommendations, right? Because Montgomery College is open admissions. So anybody can apply and anybody can become a part of the biotech program. What we might consider is I'm just thinking out loud, so Lori's going to have a heart attack. So just take some aspirin now, Lori, okay? But what we might consider is we're revising our curriculum, and we've made our intro to biotech course 3 credits instead of 2, and we're being encouraged to include a minor laboratory component, which we're thinking about making essentially the micropipetting, how to make a solution, how to make a balance. So maybe there's a way that we could actually have an articulation with you guys, and that would help the students sort of get in there. The thing that's probably lacking that you aren't teaching in your biotech course is anything about the FDA and SOPs and things like that. But we could. I'm recording everything as modules, so we could just make that if you want to come into the program and get exempt from that, you just have to listen to those modules.
Okay. All right. Well,
I like to throw out ideas, so who knows if that'll go anywhere, but I like to put stuff on the table and then we can play with it and see what happens.
That sounds great. Well, guys, I know Dr. Schuster and Ms. Bark have to hop off. They have a class coming up soon. So Thank you guys for the
again.
time.
Yeah.
Really
Nice.
appreciate it.
for your
Thank
time.
you,
Nice
guys.
to meet you.
Yeah, so it's nice to meet you
We're
virtually.
seeing you again.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll talk soon. And then Lori and Collins, I'll look out for the email about these sessions on Mondays.
Yep. Will
Yeah,
do.
yeah. Lori will do that.
Alright.
She is. I'm administratively challenged. She is
Got
not.
Or as I like to say it, he's the brains, I'm the brawn.